What is up, everybody? Welcome to The Stack. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And on The Stack, we talk about a bunch of comics that have come out this week. So I like to say it.
It's normal. And just a little context, we have just finished our live show, and we have had several drinks. I don't know if everybody knows. I don't know if everybody knows that that's how we do this, how we professional journalists do this, but that is what's happening.
We're going to kick it off talking about The Riddler, Year 1, number 1 from DC Comics, written by Paul Bookham Dano, art by Stevan Subic. This is an official prequel series to The Batman, the hit film that came out earlier this year, focusing, as one might assume, on the Riddler, showing how he became the villain he is when we meet him in the movie. And I'll say this up front, I am always very hesitant when you have an actor from the movies writing the book about their character or in the world of it or something like this. This was awesome.
I also really enjoyed this. I thought it was one of the rare moments where it felt like the actor being inside the character in this case, his portrayal of the Riddler actually gave me some internality on the Riddler, the comic book character, which I thought was really great. Him walking around listening to podcasts, him like idolizing Batman and then sort of sinking into becoming his own Batman, which will, I assume, eventually turn him into the Riddler. I thought this was fantastic and beautiful art by Stevan Subic.
All right. So I've been loving every single one of these year ones up until this point. And I tried to go to this with an open mind, but I didn't like the Riddler in the Batman. So I was like, oh man, I'm worried I'm not going to like this. And I didn't. And I think, the art was super tight bananas, but I just felt like
super tight bananas.
It felt so much like the Joker movie to me, where it was like, I don't care about this guy. He needs help. He needs to talk to a therapist. He needs to be doing these other things instead of, staying in this little bubble, getting amped up by all these horrible people. So it was just like,
you'd prefer,
I did not like it. I did not like it at all.
Year 1 of the Jim Carrey Riddler.
Well, I feel like, we've seen a lot of different versions of the
Riddle me
Riddler.
this!
Yeah,
I hear your point. I actually think it's a really interesting comparison to bring up the Joker movie, because I totally think you're right. It's totally comparable to that, excuse me. But to Justin's point, I do think I also got a very similar impression that this is pure extrapolation, but I imagine the Batman feels like the sort of movie where Matt Reeves, the director, was like, all right, everybody do your research, go back, figure out your character, write some diaries,
have a Bible.
Like, what do they do?
Yeah. What's your secret?
Yeah. What's like on their, what do they do on their day off? And so that's what this feels like reading a little bit. But at the same time, what made it really work for me is it's an interesting story of how the Riddler frames himself up as like, yeah, me and Batman, we're the same. We're the same guy.
Yeah.
And gets him to this point of this movie. If I had not known it was Paul Dano and it was just in continuity, I would have been like, yes, this is a Tom King book. This is how Tom King would write this Riddler story.
Well, take it easy there. No.
Legitimately. Like, in terms of the pacing and the framing and everything, the text pages of just the way they framed it out with him just writing the same thing over and over again, I think it was like, I'm not worth it, or something like that. And slowly it being overtaken by a sketch of Batman being like, you are worth it. I thought it was really interesting in terms of like taking us in this very uncomfortable place in the mind of an incel who feels marginalized by society. It's not a good place to be. It doesn't feel good. But in terms of psychologically exploring that, I think it was very successful.
It is cool. He's writing I am enough over and over again, which is even sort of sadder, I think. And to have the Batman come up and say, you matter, is the doodle he puts on top, which is cool.
Yeah. And to Pete's point, totally get why you wouldn't like this. Like, this is the worst parts of society. So getting in that headspace is not comfortable.
Yeah,
it's upsetting. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not fun. And I don't want to escape. I use comics as a nice kind of escape and a nice kind of, this was just, it was all sorts of wrong in many different ways. So I had a real hard time with it.
mainly this could have felt like a vanity project, and I don't think it came off like this. But why don't we move on to the next one and talk about
real quick, Pete, if you want, if this wasn't good for you, I would try Escape the Pina Colada song. You would really enjoy that.
Yeah, it makes you feel like you're getting lost in the rain.
Yeah, if you like pina coladas and getting lost in the rain.
Right. Star Trek.
If you're not into yoga,
we're drinking champagne. Star Trek
and half a Bryn.
Yeah, there you go. Star Trek #1 from IDW Publishing, written by Collin Kelly and Jackson Lanzing, art by Ramon Rosanas. This is the team off the hot run on Captain America, taking on the Star Trek universe that takes place in the same timeline as Deep Space Nine and Next Gen and everything. But the essential idea here is following up on the end of Deep Space Nine. What if Benjamin Sisko came back for the weird afterworld that he was sent to at the end of that series, and then teams up with a bunch of all-stars throughout the Star Trek universe to solve a new mystery? This is another one that I was like, I don't know. The Star Trek comics are kind of half and half, but I was like, give me
100%. This is so baller. I feel like we're all, when in like the Marvel Comics universe, and you saw a new writer will come on the Avengers and be like, I'm going to put together my stacked Avengers squad. And you're like, of course, that's naturally what's going to happen. And you just don't see it in a book like this, where Kelly and Lanzing are pulling together all their favorite Star Trek characters. You got Sisko, you got Dr. Beverly Crusher, you've got Scotty from the one episode of Next Generation where he emerged from the transporter he had been frozen in and comes back into the present day. You got Data, you got a Picard shout out here, you got Paris from Voyager. This is popping off on the Star Trek universe, and I am here for it.
Yeah, I feel like I missed a lot of the references. Like I was like, oh yeah, it's that guy, and then it was this guy. And I was
Data,
like,
Data, you love him. Brent Spiner.
Yeah,
he's got a cat.
I know. Yeah,
Pointillism. He does.
Yeah.
This is definitely like playing Stairway is essentially what this book is. You know, it's definitely. Yes, it's definitely like coming in and being like, yes.
It's good clarification.
No, the Stairway, the miniseries about
the HBO.
The HBO miniseries. Yes.
This is like playing Staircase. You know what I mean? The HBO murder miniseries.
So I can't separate it from caring about and knowing about the Star Trek universe, but if you care and know about the Star Trek universe, this is killing the game. Is essentially what I'd say. So there you go. Very excited about this book and following that one. Let's move on to another one that I think we will perhaps agree on. A.X.E. Judgment Day #6 from Marvel, written by Kieron Gillen, art by Valerio Schiti with Ivan Fiorelli. This is bringing the A.X.E. storyline to a close as a celestial, right? Is judging the entire planet, judge them negatively, and the combined might of the Avengers, the X-Men, and the Eternals are trying to take it down for good. Ultimately, and spoilers here, I think you can probably figure this out, they do not destroy Earth and actually figure out a way out of it by the end, but not without repercussions that will play throughout A.X.E. Judgment Day Omega, the next issue that actually wraps this up. That preamble out of the way, the cover of the issue has all of the heroes giving a big thumbs down on it, and I think that's a really good summation of this whole series.
Wow. Alex with a classic Pete burn.
What did you guys think about
the guy? He's like the guy in the Mets who's like, meh.
Oh, Mr. Baseball? Mr. Met? The baseball head?
Mr. Baseball.
No, there was
the Tom Selleck movie.
Suspenders. He went around. He was a famous.
Not a lot of people know this. It's Tom Selleck, the baseball head. He's Mr. Met.
Yeah,
actually,
loves the job.
I know the guy who played Mr. Met for a while.
Was it Tom
Selleck?
Whoa,
Pete!
Yeah, he took my improv class. I got to go to a Mets game one time.
Did he wear the baseball
How did you?
In your improv class?
Hard to improvise not a baseball scene with when he's doing that. Yeah. But let me ask you, Pete, did you feel like you were able to really bring out the Metness of him?
Yeah, I was really No, he's a very funny guy. I can see why he got that job. Very physical comedian.
Great. And that's a review of A.X.E. Judgment Day. Let's move on to the next. No, what did you guys think about this one? Pete?
The last couple of issues are like, will they give us the thumbs up or thumbs down? And then it just kind of sat there at the end, and I was just like, what are we doing?
This was, I I like endings in general, especially something as complex and I would say convoluted as this. At least we're coming to a close. I liked that the Celestial had imprinted Tony Stark's sort of mentality. That comes to a head here.
Can we talk about that for a second? Because that's like almost a trope in Marvel Comics at this point, and be like, oh boy, I made this bad thing. I'm Tony Stark. Oops. And it went horribly wrong and almost destroyed the world. Totally fine with that. That coming in at the end, I was like, wait, what? When did that happen? Because there's so much going on in this book constantly, even in this last issue, and I appreciate the creative team. I like the artists. I love the writer. Kieron Gillen is great. But, like, what was going on in this? What was the emotional thrust of this? I don't know.
Too much going on. And, I mean, let me talk about the positives. Like, one of my favorite parts of this crossover or series were the 6-panel like actual people on the ground and how their lives were affected by this, which is wild in a crossover with like the biggest super teams in the Marvel universe. It's like, I love those regular people that were talking for a little bit. But I am excited to read the Omega issue because I'm curious what the status quo is going to be established. And obviously the death of Cersei affects all of this.
Absolutely, 100%. Where will our jackets be? What will the Black Knight think? These are the big questions coming out of this issue. Next up, Punchline, the Gotham game, #1 from DC Comics, written by Tini Howard and Blake Howard, art by Gleb Melnikov, spinning out of the back matter from one of the Batman titles. I think it was Detective Comics, but I'm not 100% sure. Punchline is now free and in Gotham, and she is building up a plan of her own.
I want to say it was the Joker series that was mostly about Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway,
3 different takes.
I do not get Punchline at all. Pete, I know you love her. Take it away.
I'm enjoying this. I thought this was a solid first issue. Just fun. I like the plan that Punchline is putting into place. It's not something that you like, like she's spelling it out so we can follow along. I really appreciate that. I also, I can pick matches Malone out of fucking any.
Love matches.
Yeah, I love the low key. They had matches Malone in there the whole time. Yeah, just great. I think, Punchline at first when it came out, it was kind of like, wait, what? But I'm appreciating what they're doing with her, and I feel like she's an interesting character that can kind of bring some interesting ideas. So I'm enjoying. I felt like this was a solid first issue and really set things up and set things in motion.
In another comic we're going to talk about, Punchline faces off. Pardon me, there's a haunted noise behind me. Punchline and Harley encounter each other, and Harley's like, I hate Punchline. So I'm on Harley's team a little bit in general. But I did like this. I liked the use of the Royal Flush game.
Yeah!
Often the punchline, the lowercase p punchline of any superhero launch, and in this they're actually used as from a villain's point of view, which I thought was cool. And I liked sort of the social media side of this. I want a little bit more inside of Punchline's head, sort of love inside her head, just like what makes her different from. She seems like a less, a more psychologically sound Harley and Joker. She's just like a bad person. So I want a little bit more nuance there. And I checked with our well-paid fact checker, and I was right about the Punchline being in the back of the Joker series.
Wow, that's great. Pay our fact checker double this month.
Wow.
Yeah, I do.
Thanks. Dead Mall, #1 from Dark Horse Comics, written by Adam Cesare, art by David Stoll. In this issue, a bunch of kids go into a broken down old mall and
thank you.
Encounter a bunch of creatures that are inside there. What did you guys think about this spooky Halloween treat?
Well, if you have to go to a Spencer Gifts, you're going to go into a haunted mall, right? Like if you need a gift. Like you're going to your aunt's birthday and you're like, wow, let me go to a Spencer Gifts.
What are you going to get, a lava lamp? What are you looking to buy in Spencer's Gifts?
I always go, when I'm going to the broken down old mall, I always head to the Auntie Anne's first because the old pretzels there, still good.
The haunted pretzels. They're haunted by cinnamon.
I go first to the cookie cake place. I have them set up my cookie
cake.
Yeah.
Is that like a Friendly's?
No, it's that giant like cookie. You can bake like a giant cookie.
Famous Amos?
No, it's the place that makes the giant cookies in
Orange Julius.
Oh my God, you were so old, bro.
Bed Bath and Beyond. I got you.
Sephora.
Oh, it's Sephora.
Hey, welcome to Sephora. We've got a bunch of lipstick and eyeshadow and a cookie cake.
Yeah. So this is an insane story. It's just one of those things where it's like at the first sight of anything spooky, I'm gonna run. So it's just weird to me that these kids hung out for so long after the creepy picture was taken. You saw the creepy picture. What the F are you doing there? Get the heck out of Dodge. But it's one of those things where there's a lot of nostalgia in malls, especially for our age group. So it's just kind of scary to see them all at night. And
I just to throw it out there, I really like the story here. I love the idea of going to this abandoned mall and there is these creatures that lure these kids here and are hunting them down. There seems to be one creature that's trying to help them. This seems like a very strong concept. I couldn't quite get on board with the narration. It's this third-person narration that really separates you from it. I assume it's from the direction of one of the creatures who's in the mall.
Yeah,
but
maybe the lead evil creature.
Right.
Or maybe the next
I don't know. It separated me from the story a little bit and made me feel like I couldn't quite get into what was happening necessarily, but I don't know how you felt about it.
I did really like the fun ads, the old timey ads that they kind of had throughout. That was cool.
I'm intrigued by what the rules are of this mall, because it does feel like they're trapped there, and who are these people and why are they trying to absolutely kill these teens?
Yeah.
There we go. Strange Academy Finals #1 from Marvel, written by Scotty Young, art by Humberto Ramos. This is picking up on the Strange Academy series, which follows a bunch of legacy characters who are all enrolled in a magic academy. Here, a bunch of them have headed to Limbo, I want to say. I'm not 100% sure about that. While a bunch of them are still at Strange Academy, reeling from the death of Doctor Strange. So there's a big mystical war that's building here. Pete, I know you love Humberto Ramos and Scotty Young, so what did you think about this?
Well, I do. I'm a huge fan of both. So hang on, I'm still pulling it up here. Yeah, I mean the art style is great. The fighting though was kind of breaking my heart. The kind of two main characters kind of fighting, but
the couple, you don't like the fight?
No, the two girls who were kind of yelling at each other at the end. But this is a very kind of cool premise, interesting setup. I also really like the two that are dating are adorable, and I also thought it was funny how they broke up by the end of it, because it's a classic young kind of romance kind of thing.
Yeah, you can't date a Dormammu.
Yeah, I mean that's going to start out great, but that's going to end poorly. But yeah, I thought it was a cool premise, amazing art, super tight bananas. So yeah, very enjoyable.
Yep, no notes on that. I would say, I mean, we're reviewing a lot of X-Men books in this stack, but this issue of Strange Academy feels like it has the most classic X-Men feel to it, which I think is interesting. The X-Men have sort of moved very far away from the old, like a bunch of kids who live in a mansion and have superpowers. And this book, if you're longing for some classic X-Men vibes, I think this is a good book to pick up.
Yeah, I agree. If you're kind of disappointed in Fuck Island, this is a nice kind of a reprieve.
Yeah. Sorry, when you say you're disappointed in Fuck Island, do you mean you're disappointed there's not enough fucking or there's too much fucking?
No,
the whole Pete, I know that was when you went on the Hedonism 3 trip, I know you lodged that Yelp review as I'm disappointed in Fuck Island.
Pete? You can take Pete here, or?
I'm talking about Krakoa.
No.
We all know I'm talking about Krakoa.
Okay. Well, Pete, in a way, is sort of a human target. And the next book we're going to be talking about is The Human Target #8 from DC Comics, written by Tom King, art by Greg Smallwood. In this issue, we get Rocket Red is the name of the character. This is one Justice League International character I'm not 100% familiar with. But he comes directly for the Human Target, who he blames for killing Guy Gardner. Now, we, the reader, of course, know he did kill Guy Gardner. But over the course of the issue, he interrogates him and ultimately comes to an alternate decision. Justin, I know you really like this one, so take it away.
I love this comic. Is there a better comic on the stands? I don't think so. It is, like I've said in the past, it is sexy. It is like great action. This issue is almost a bottle issue, a standalone issue where the Human Target is dealing with the repercussions here before he ends up back in bed. I love that he loses a day. He only has a couple days left. The stakes are high. This is very James Bondian, the issues of Mad Men where Don Draper is outside of the office. Like if you like any of those things, this comic is amazing.
Yeah, for me, this was like at the start of this was a slow burn. We got little bits of information, but now this is really humming, and it is just phenomenal. I mean, this has just been, I've been really loving it. The last couple of issues has really picked up the pace and the action, and oh my God, I'm hanging on every panel in this. The art, of course, is super tight bananas. It's just, these panels are just immaculate and really impressive. Yeah, I can't recommend this comic enough.
I'm having a really hard time not commenting on their use of tight bananas. Let me just say, I'm having really struggling.
You've been gone for a while. It's evolved. You know what I mean?
I've been gone for one episode, and now you're throwing out tight bananas on every review. Every comic you like, you're like, that's tight bananas. Like it's something we all say. And I'll tell you what, I don't say that. I know it's not a common thing. Why would I ever say tight bananas? Why would you ever want a tight banana? It's not a popular thing. Is that like a
President
squeezed
Biden
banana?
did say it in his address the other night.
Yeah.
Well, this is tight bananas.
Listen, there's bananas art, okay? And the next heightening of that is tight bananas.
Yeah, I guess
feel like you're missing a couple in there, but I honestly can't go back in my memory to remember what they were. So why don't we move on instead and talk about Damn Them All? Number 1 from Boom Studios, written by Simon Spurrier, art by Charlie Adlard. In this book, we are meeting a magician who is caught in the middle of a mob war of sorts while demons are growing amok in the UK. This is great. This is a great first issue.
Yeah.
I think if you there's some pretty particular, very specific things I think you can call out here. Like, certainly Constantine is a touchstone here, though it feels like it's very much own thing. It's a strong concept. The art from Charlie Adlard is really unique, and the demon
Walking
designs,
Dead fame.
There you go, and the demon designs are great. But also, if you're missing Once and Future for the week or two that has been gone, I think this is another one you can pick up that has a wild, magical, very strong premise and feels like it's about to go balls out into an action movie. What do you guys think about this one?
I love the premise. I like that we sort of get the premise up top, but then we really nail it at the end. Simon Spurrier's writing is always like dense and like super vernacular conscious, like really using language and using the way that the people, the characters that are in the story actually speak, which I think is cool. It feels very real, and the art adds a lot to it as well.
Your classically trained actor is showing there. Yeah, this is such a great first issue. I love what it sets up and then delivers on. Like, they do such a great job of kind of like introducing this insane premise and then really delivering on it in such a great way that keeps it action forward and also has like a really fantastic last panel. I was just super impressed with this. And again, super tight bananas art, just really great from top to bottom.
I do want to mention, just based on what you were saying earlier, Justin, I think Simon Spurrier can be very heady sometimes.
Yes.
The reason that I called out Once and Future is it feels to me the same way with Kieron Gillen. Was like, I'm going to write a crazy action book on Once and Future. This to me feels like Simon Spurrier doing that. Where like, what if a magician was caught in the middle of a mob war that involved demons? That's basically what it is. Super fun. Lots of other stuff. It might spin wildly out of control as it goes, but this first issue was a blast. The Variants, Agreed. Number 4 from Marvel, written by Gail Simone, art by Phil Noto. Big spoilers here, but Jessica Jones is mixing it up with a bunch of variants of herself from seemingly different realities at the same time as it seems like the Purple Man is making another attack on her psyche. She goes deep inside and finds out some truths by the end here. I think we've said this with pretty much issue, but if you are a fan of Jessica Jones, this is a essential read of a comic book.
Great breakdown of all the different sort of versions of her, something that's been with the character since her inception way back in the day with Brian Michael Bendis. And great use of Professor X in this issue.
Oh,
so good.
A character who's been made into something who's a little nasty, or at the very least removed from a lot of the action in the X-Men books. But this felt like the real Professor X from back in the day here, helping out, and really enjoyed that.
I was so blown away. Big fan of Gail Simone. She is a great writer, but I feel like with this, she's really found something, and it's really great to see her playing with the different version of Jessica Jones and the way they all interact. It's just really well done. Some just fantastic. It feels like different people talking, even though it's also the same. It's really impressive what they're doing in this issue. It's also a lot of old school fun here with the covers. I'm just really impressed by this. I was like, all right, what are we doing here? But man, I was really blown away by this issue. This is such a great comic from top to bottom.
There's a bunch of really smart twists in this issue, and I'll mention, not to keep giving touchstones for it, but if you saw Everything Everywhere All at Once, this is very different, but in terms of digging into somebody's psyche through the use of the multiverse, it's equally smart in a new and fresh way. Plus, Phil Noto's art is fantastic, and the fact that he's able to draw all these different Jessica Jones and make them distinct, but they're all equally Jessica Jones, is beyond impressive. It's beyond bananas, I would say.
Oh, nice.
DC versus Vampires, number 10 from DC Comics, written by James Tynion IV and Matthew Rosenberg, art by Otto Schmidt. Bergie. Bunch of stuff going on this issue as we continue to follow a DC universe that's been taken over by vampires. Green Arrow is in a prison camp and making some moves there. Supergirl and company are trying to find a way to get her in sunlight so she can fight back against the vampires. Meanwhile, Gotham, a team led by Barbara Gordon, is taking Damian Wayne and others to take the fight directly to Nightwing, the king of the vampires. I know you guys have been loving this book, so take it away.
I love it.
Yeah, it's just... It continues to climb on the list, my poll list, every time. I keep thinking like, oh my God, this is so much fun. This is so much fun. And it keeps getting more fun. The twist and the turns that it's taking, because I think like, okay, we're going to settle here. But the twists keep coming. The character development that happens in this insane premise is really impressive. The writing is phenomenal. The art's super tight bananas. This is an unbelievable comic. If you're not checking this out, you should. You think it's going to be one thing. It delivers on multiple levels. Just super impressive.
What they do is really create great character-specific touchstone moments for all the characters they feature in here, and I love to see it throughout. This is truly like some great, like really well-baked bananas.
All right, let's move on to a book that, to be honest, I didn't really want to put into the stack, but Pete kept texting me and telling me that we got to talk about it.
I don't text you.
Love.
Everybody knows
sorry,
lying.
you sent me a bunch of written letters, missives. You said, "Mon Dieu, Alex."
Honestly, the photos. I want to call them erotic photos. It's whatever. Like you tell me what they are.
Not even once.
Sure. Lovesick, number 1 from Image Comics by Luana Vecchio. This is a book about a lady who makes snuff films on the internet. I'll tell you what, this went so much more hardcore than I thought it would.
Well, and I agree. I actually really like this issue, and it reminds me of a book we've talked about in the recent stacks, the Kevin Smith book.
Yes.
I forget.
I definitely thought about that as well.
This is like the version of that. This is like that book aspires to be this book. And I think this book is nailing that idea a lot more about someone who is sort of using a violent internet show to like get revenge on people who are
toxic
being
trolls.
bad online.
Yeah, it's essentially like really digging in. If you want to talk about the positives of it, because it's very intense to read, it's very uncomfortable to read. It's ludicrously violent. There's sex, there's murder, there's nudity throughout. But like you're saying, Justin, it's definitely digging into the idea of like these toxic trolls who go on dark web forums and rail on women. Why are they doing this? And essentially what this book gets to is the idea that they're doing it because they want the attention of these women. And what's taken to its ultimate extreme, it's her killing them and them saying, "Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for doing that. That's what I really wanted, you paying attention to me." At the same time, like you were saying, I think getting back to, I think it's called Masquerade. The Kevin
Masquerade
Smith,
is what it is. Yes.
Is getting to the idea of like this character, this main character also needs something of her own. She needs a connection of her own, and she's just not getting that because she's all in on this horrific murder live stream. There's one panel there where she lies down with one of the men. It's just quiet. That I was like, oh, that gets to something much emotionally deeper. But it's, to be clear, and not to kick it over to you, Pete, but I think like it's a very uncomfortable read. Like it's going to make you uncomfortable. It's supposed to make you uncomfortable. It does. It's uncomfortable bananas. Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, it's it's a lot of S&M and all sorts of stuff, and like it's trying to say stuff, and it's it's taking some swings. You can't read it in public, and I'm sure it's for somebody. So
yeah, I got on the subway and I projected it out of my phone onto the.
Oh, smart.
Just
I
wanted to
release. Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, and I showed him.
He was like, "Oh, I love this.
Oh, this is great. I got to talk to my friends about it. My famous friends. Have you met them?"
This is what made him cut the 3K program, right? From New York City schools.
Very, very niche joke. But I'll just mention this is also from the artist of Bolero, a book that we liked quite a bit.
Love
that
Bolero.
Came out. So even beyond the content of the book, the art is gorgeous. Absolutely stunningly, like just clean art. But like Pete was saying, very uncomfortable book, very hard to read, not for everybody, but interesting. And I'm glad it exists.
I'm glad.
Why don't we move on? Talk about New Mutants number 31 from Marvel, written by Charlie Jane Anders, art by Alberto Albuquerque with Rose Stein and Ted Brandt. Now, last week on our live show, we had Jordan D. White, the editor of Marvel Comics X-Men line on. Pete and I think, had a great discussion with him, and it really felt like Pete had a breakthrough here in terms of the X-Men books and in terms of understanding them. So I figured after a couple of months of break of not talking about them at all, we could throw a bunch of X-Men books in here and have a real discussion about them, which it wasn't just like fuck Island, fuck Island, and then we kind of moved on. So here we go with New Mutants. This is about a New Mutant who has the power to switch lives with somebody briefly, and it explores them as well as a bunch of other mutants as they go on a classic mutant adventure. Pete, with your new outlook on life, what did you think about this book?
Well, why don't you go, Justin?
That's a good sign. I like this main character. I like the power set, and there's a mystery sort of attached to this series where she has Destiny had a vision where when she's thrown off a building, and to survive she trades places with her best friend, and her best friend falls to their death. So I that's really interesting. And then the book ends up getting into a lot of just like hanging out and a lot of like other sort of X-Men day-to-day stuff. I want to get to that mystery. I like the art changes we get into a Charlie Brown style art throughout. There's a lot of creative swings here that I think are fun and worth checking out.
Yeah, I agree. The Charlie Brown thing was a lot of fun.
Wow.
This to me felt a little bit like one of the Unlimited comics they've been releasing. Not to be dismissive of those necessarily, but these are characters that I like. I'm happy to spend more time with them. It doesn't feel like there's a clear concept for this book necessarily yet, in terms of it being like, here's a big bold new run on New Mutants, but I don't know. I'm willing to read more, and I like the stuff with Martha, who used to be a brain in a jar and is now a brain in a body. I'm curious to see what happens with her. So I liked it enough to read another one, but I understand your guys' hesitance. Let's move on to something that I know Pete is enthused about, though. Catwoman Lonely City #4 from DC Comics by Cliff Chiang. This is the last issue of what is essentially the Catwoman Rises. It's taken for the Cat Knight, or whatever you want to call it, where it takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where Catwoman is trying to break into Batman's cave after he died. Two-Face is hot on her heels. Pete, take it away.
Okay, they call it the Batcave, technically.
Yeah.
All right, I actually wrote something for this, so please bear with me here.
The bat.
Okay.
You wrote something down?
Was it a dirty lyric?
I was so moved by this book. I immediately after reading it wrote this out because I wanted to bring up all these points. Okay.
Oh my God.
It's a wrap.
So first off, strutting type Bananas art, just strutting. I mean the panels, the Batcave stuff. I'm talking about double page spread of the Batcave that was just awe-inspiring, just jaw-dropping. Emotional shit. I mean, this is for Croc Punch.
Yeah.
I'm talking about come on. You know what I mean? Like
Mom Spaghetti. Yeah.
Yeah. The just crazy. The Alfred stuff, the Ivy stuff, the Ivy tree at the end. I mean, I was just blown away by, all right, first off, best use of a slow clap, all right? The Two-Face standing on top of a tank, slow clapping as he enters the Batcave. Unbelievable.
Pete, before you go on, I demand that you release the typewritten note of this on Twitter when we post this podcast, because I'm very dubious that you wrote any of this stuff.
then just blowing it all the fuck up. I mean, straight rubble. Wow. I mean, you have this full circle kind of like mayor on top of a roof giving you that kind of Lion King circle light feeling at the end. Hitting you with the jewels glowing in the city night sky. Thank you, Cliff Chiang. I thank you. I have no idea how long this book took to make, but it was so worth it because reading it was just such an experience. It was just so beautiful, and I'm so happy that I got to experience this comic.
Straight rubble.
Straight rubble.
Hey, what did Fred Flintstone say to Barney when he saw him hooking up with a woman?
Straight rubble.
There you go.
Straight rubble. I mean, I agree with every word from Pete's typewritten note that he just read aloud for us about this book.
I read it word for word. I don't know what
manifesto. Almost a manifesto, God. Really. It was ice cold bananas.
I have nothing to add. Great book.
Great book. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, me too. The Return of Chilling Adventures in Sorcery.
Wait, but you guys would agree, though, this book is above and beyond, right? This isn't just
It's a great book. I don't know what you just did, but this Cliff Chiang's art is always phenomenal. I think this is a really nice riff on The Dark Knight. I think he did a really good job here. Like, that trope is very much overdone in terms of trying to capture what Frank Miller did, and he found a very Cliff Chiang way of doing it that made sense with Catwoman. Great story, beautiful story. Loved it. And
you guys weren't impressed with all he put into it? You weren't just blown away?
Really loved it.
So many positive things about it.
Yeah, but I think we're all on board. It's just, I just witnessed like the emergence of a beat poet, and so like I can't add on top of that. When Bob Dylan took the stage at the Newport Folk Festival, like no one was like, "I'll go after him."
This is like the return of the Mac, or rather the return of Chilling Adventures in Sorcery, #1 from Archie Comics, written by Elliot Rahal, Sina Grace, Casey Gilly, and Craig Baldwin. Art by Vincenzo Frederici, Corin Howell, Liana Kangas, Pat and Tim Kennedy. This is wrapping up the story of Madam Satan, where hell has taken over Greendale High, I guess.
Heck.
And, sure. And we're getting a couple of short stories in there as well. There's a goof, the fun goof.
Well, let me say, the internal sort of scary stories featuring our Archie gang, I really enjoyed those. The wraparound, I was like, it felt so like heavy continuity plot, and I was like, what? It drops you in very intensely on like, this school is run by hell and this teacher is Madam Satan and she's trying to do this. Like it felt like it was asking a lot of narrative, like asking for a lot of information, when really I just wanted to read some fun stories about like Veronica murdering people.
Yeah, like the thing that you were talking about, that story where Veronica is like, I need this dress and I need this necklace, and the shopkeeper is like, you need to pay me in some way. You need to give me something back. It feels like that story and other stories straddle this very nice line between an Archie-style punchline at the end and also being something creepy and gross out of Tales from the Crypt. Those walk a very nice line. I agree with you about the through line is very weird, but, the art's good throughout, and that's fine. Pete, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, some of the stories are hit or miss, but the art is great. And also the fun Veronica collecting organs moment was kind of crazy and fun. But yeah, overall, it's nice to see Sabrina and Madam Satan again.
Wolverine #26 from Marvel, written by Benjamin Percy, art by Juan Jose Rip. This is following Wolverine as he gets sucked into an auction that is selling him for his organs and pieces. And he is teaming up with essentially the dude from, oh my gosh.
The Big Lebowski.
The Big Lebowski. Thank you. There you go. Who has been this running character throughout Benjamin Percy's run, who is this very old agent of CIA or FBI or something like that. But, I don't know. Juan Jose Rip is one of my favorite artists for gross, over-the-top stuff, and I think he absolutely nails it here. Benjamin Percy's stuff, he completely captures this character, as well as Wolverine, this new agent character that he's been working through. Very fun, but I'm curious to hear from Pete again. An X-Men book. This was Jordan in particular was like, come on, don't you like Wolverine? So here we go. Here's an issue of Wolverine kicking off a new arc. What do you think?
I thought this was cool. I really liked the kind of the dude and Wolverine hanging out. And I thought it was this interesting philosophy of life. It's about the small moments, it's not about all the big events and stuff. It's the small calm moments. So I thought that was a fun juxtaposition to show these like epic battles and then just kind of go back to them sitting in a couple of lawn chairs. So I thought that was very cool, and also really weird how Wolverine gave a kid a finger. Not like the finger, but like, here's an amputated Deadpool finger, so if you guys ever want to go to Fuck Island, you can. So
the way you say that sounds even weirder, let me be honest.
Yeah. But I also thought it was an interesting twist where they kind of end up where the story, and kind of heartbreaking, to tell you the truth, to see Beast turn on Wolverine like that. I was a little upset that they made us read regular words in this, but
regular
it's
words.
this whole Krakoan bullshit that we're still dealing
we've heard what Pete thinks. Now let's hear Justin's position.
I really like this as well for a lot of the reasons. Love the finger thing and the horrifying moment at the end. This feels like classic Wolverine out on his own from back when the X-Men were living at the X Mansion, and surprised to see Beast be in that way. But in general, I think this is good. This is good X-Men stuff happening here.
Tim Drake, Robin, number 2 from DC Comics, written by Megan Fitzmartin, art by Riley Rosmo. And this issue, we're picking up on the mystery of somebody who is targeting Tim Drake, thanks to classic detective stories and some ghostly animals, among other things, while he's trying to balance his new life living on a boat and dating dude. What'd you think?
Yeah, I think this was a really fun Robin story. Love the art choice here. It's a cool contrast to the way we normally see Gotham. So I love the creativity that's in this book. I feel like they did an amazing job with the supervillain reveal panel. I loved all the twists and all the actions. I really think this was a very fun issue.
The Riley Rosmo art is awesome, and this issue does a good job of that. The first time you're sort of out on your own in your life, and you're stressed about all the stuff that you have to do, and you didn't realize that it's all sort of compounding, and you're like, oh God, I just want to go out on dates and have fun, but I have to do all this other stuff. And on top of it, Tim Drake is dealing with being a crime fighter. So good. This book really takes you to a place, both personal and in the superhero universe.
I'm really enjoying this quite a bit. Really like the first issue. I think the second issue was a great follow-up as well. Why don't we move on to another second issue with Vanish, number 2 from Image Comics, written by Donny Cates, art by Ryan Stegman. This comic is essentially... Well, there's a lot of stuff going on here, like we talked about with the first issue.
Yes, this issue particularly has a lot going on. There's a very intense 9/11 scene at the top of this issue. I was like, yo.
So it's essentially like a Harry Potter-esque school was fighting against their Voldemort. They killed the Voldemort, and then years later, Harry Potter is a drunk and finds out that the people who worked for Voldemort are still alive and now working as superheroes, so he decides to become a supervillain. In this issue, he reconnects with his Ron and goes back to his Hermione, who he is married to. I'll say this. Love the team. Donny Cates, Ryan Stegman, they're great. I love, even with the multiple concepts going on here, I still really like it. I want a little more story in this issue, personally.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think the premise and the concepts that are on the table are so strong that I feel like we need to thread them together and get moving here. The book feels like it is sort of like a little bit of a hang. When I agree with you. I want to like really move through this stuff because that's the premise, the pace of the stories that the premise is referencing is fast. So I think the book should reflect that a little bit more, I think.
I just think there's a lot going on, and I feel like once this kind of like settles down into its kind of right now it's kind of getting through a lot right now to kind of get to stuff. So I feel like once it settles down, this will be great. It's just, it's like we got 9/11, then people are pulling their faces off to reveal their glamour, what's going on underneath. So it's like, and then it just keeps compounding from there. So I feel like once we kind of really hit this will be great because the team's unbelievable, the art's unbelievable. There's a lot of great ideas floating around here, but right now it just feels a little too much, but I'm still enjoying it.
Yeah, it looks great. Donny Cates is a great writer. I think it's just maybe my expectations in terms of they're leading into it, and the character looks like they're straight out of a Top Cow book. And for Top Cow, I expect the sense of like 90s of we get a little angst, and then there's a crazy supernatural fight 2/3 of the way through, and then a little more angst. And here we're not necessarily getting that. We're mostly just getting the angst part, and that's it.
Right.
So I don't know. Given what happens at the end here, maybe they'll pick it up a little bit, but I'll always read something from this team, so it kind of doesn't matter. Exterminators, number 2 from Marvel, written by Leah Williams, art by Carlos Gomez. This is picking up on a first issue that I think we absolutely loved, where Boom Boom and Dazzler and Jubilee are all sucked into an essentially like arcade-style Fight Club situation by a bunch of vampires. Here, it's picking up with Wolverine, a.k.a. Laura, a.k.a. X-23, who has also been sucked into the situation, and they're forced to fight with some mirror fairy magic. It's bloody, it's gross, it's over the top, it's a lot of fun. What'd you guys think?
It's wild. It's this book across the board is over the top. I think we talked about that in the first issue, but I think the tone really works, and I like seeing these characters being out doing these things. The fact that they're encountering vampires and now fairy mirrors is like stuff that you just don't normally see in an X-Men book.
Yeah, I think X-23 is great in this. It's kind of an interesting setup, absolutely fantastic art, and it's kind of crazy mirror world that they're in, and it's funny that one of them's like, shit, I keep making eye contact. So, yeah, I think there's a lot going on, but it's also a lot of fun.
Yep. Action Comics.
One real quick, just a PSA. Pete's thrown around the term "fuck island" a lot when in relation to the X-Men, and I feel like we should define that. It's not like the X-Men continuity is currently an island where they all have sex.
Well, they kind of are.
That's a reference to that the island of Krakoa has another island that it has a sexual relationship with. And you may be asking, why is that sort of a defining term for the X-Men when that happened in one, maybe two issues, or perhaps a year ago? And that's just tight bananas.
They also said that they're kind of being like, fuck you, we're going to go live on an island. So they're fucking off to an island.
Okay.
As well.
Oh,
okay.
See, I didn't even know that. They're fucking off to an island.
Yeah.
Okay. Action Comics number 1048 from DC Comics, written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, art by Mike Perkins and David Lapham. Excuse me. In this issue, Clark Kent is Lapham.
Really emphasizing the Lapham, which is a weird term when you say it so slowly. I love a lap ham.
I like a good lap ham, right? Like a honey baked.
That's when
lap
you're
ham.
like at Thanksgiving, you're eating ham, and after the meal, you're like, got a lot of lap ham to finish up.
Oh my god!
Got to get back on that lap ham. Anybody got a lap ham that they dropped? I'll take it.
Clark has 2 kids that he has adopted from Warworld. Turns out the new gods don't like that very much and are coming directly for him at, of all places, the Metropolis Zoo. What'd you think about this issue?
I thought it was it escalated fast. You know, it started off kind of, you think like, okay, we're just going to get a zoo fun issue, kind of people just kind of like getting used to human life and what humans do. I think the setup of the new gods is a fun kind of like versus setup, but then it has like a sad ending with Metallo, and then this weird naked guy villain reveal where it's like, I don't know if that thing is blocking the guy's junk or if that is his junk, but that was kind of a weird panel that I felt like maybe DC could have done a better job designing.
Yeah, I agree with you, Pete. We really should have seen his junk, and like there should have been like
no, not see his junk, but it was like the way it was. It's just a weird panel that I was like, right. Somebody could have done a better job.
You would have liked this if this was a Black Label book, is what you're saying, but like
no, I'm just
a bunch of junk all over the place.
No, you know if
like that Lovesick book you liked.
Oh my god. I just feel like, when they show nudity, they'll have like mist covering things, but it was just like this weird thing that already kind of looks like a metal cock and balls that is in front of this guy's junk.
Pete,
so
this is when you go in with your pencil and you draw the stuff over so you can really see it. Like
your
I'm
magic
not going to draw on art, my friend.
Buy a second copy to draw the junk on.
Yeah, that's you're way over budget.
One copy to keep, one copy to draw junk on. Yeah.
And I'll take my junk copies as well. You can leave those unbagged because I got to draw the dicks in. That was actually the first page for the backup story, Pete. So the actual last page of it is just on Metallo.
Okay.
So the man with the robot junk is another character.
Different. Okay, good. Because I felt like, oh man,
that's one of my favorite Alan Moore stories. The man with the robot junk.
The man who had it all, or whatever. That's the follow-up. I feel like Philip Kennedy Johnson has just such a great take on Superman, and we don't get a ton of Superman Kal-El in this issue, but we get Bibbo coming back from back in the day. Love to see him. What a great Superman character to bring back and sort of give his due. Great stuff for this issue.
And I'll say I love the fact that he hasn't actually moved beyond the War World storyline, that we're still seeing repercussions here. I like that quite a bit. It feels like he's building a big mythology for the DC Universe, which is very exciting. Let's move on to Rogues Gallery number
Before we
4.
move on, Thanksgiving is coming, so please send any Lapham to our comic book club headquarters. Will finish it off for you.
Rogues Gallery number 4 from Image Comics, written by Hannah Rose May, art by Justin Mason. In this final issue of this book, the home invasion happening on our hero, who used to star on a CW-style show as a superhero, is finding herself attacked by a bunch of toxic fans who want to take her down. That seems to be the theme of today's stack. Things end up very poorly and sadly by the end here, but I really like the series. I thought there was a really smart commentary on fan culture throughout and taking it to its logical extreme with the story. I think this was very well done throughout.
Yeah, I also just want to go on record. Alex keeps saying toxic fans. We love our fans. We don't think you're toxic. This is just the comics we're talking about today. You guys are great. Thank you for listening.
There's one of them.
Oh, okay.
Who's
a toxic fan? Our toxic fan. I think you're talking about me. Do you mean me?
Yeah, Justin. Yes.
Okay. But to talk about this book, this is a fantastic issue. This kind of like all kind of builds up to this. They do a great job of kind of delivering on the old, like, oh, I'm retired. I hung it all up. All right. You're going to make me put on the suit one more time and whoop some ass. Great. Love the action. Love all the kind of reveals in this issue. It's sad to see this end. It really just got going for me. But man, what a great, I would say it really paid off, built up really well. Fantastic art. Loved it.
Yeah, great 4-issue story. I feel like if you haven't read this is definitely worth tracking down the first 4 or waiting for a collection, which I hope will come, because it's just a really well done story, and it gets into. I'm fine. It covers all these topics while also having just a great series of action sequences here.
Agreed.
Yeah. The Roadie number 2 from Dark Horse Comics, written by Tim Seeley, art by Fran Galan. In this issue, our titular Roadie has found his daughter, who is being attacked by a bunch of demons after a rap performance. He is trying to save her, but because he is saving her, the musician that he is supposed to help is put in serious danger. This continues to be a delightfully fun series. If you liked Hack Slash or other things that Tim Seeley has done, definitely pick this up. A very, very fun, very goofy, very silly, but also occasionally scary horror book.
Yeah, and I want to also, because I agree with you completely, and I want to throw, if you're a Rick Remender fan, I think this is a good book to pick up if you're not getting your Remender fix currently, because a lot of his books have ended.
Yeah, it kind of picks up on a little bit of the scumbag vibe a little. But yeah, I think this is a fun, a lot of things go down in this crazy kind of last panel. Yeah, Tim Seeley does a great job of drawing, or not drawing, but writing action with also some comedy and some real heartfelt moments. So yeah, this is cool.
Tutti Frutti Banana Duty.
Flawed number 2 from Image Comics, written by Chuck Brown, art by Prenzi. In this issue, a lot of stuff is going on.
End of sentence.
Yeah,
that is correct.
Here's the thing. I actually really like looking at this book, and I like all the images that are flying at me. There are so many different plots happening at the same time with so many different characters that even 2 issues in, I'm frankly having a little hard time to focus on. But I like reading it anyway, just because every page is interesting in its own new and different way.
Well, and this is one that I feel like when I got to the end of this issue, I was like, right, she's a psychologist, and that's her whole thing, and that's how she connects with the supernatural universe. So I do think if you read these first 2 issues together, I think it's setting up the sort of thrust of what this first arc is going to be. But yes, coming in cold on this, I was like, there is a lot going on. But to your point, the art is very good.
Yeah, I love this. I thought it was great. I loved all the madness happening, and I appreciated all of her slaps. I thought this was, just like really over the top, kind of one bad thing happening after another. And, I'm a sucker for a Tommy gun at the end there. So, I think that this is just insanity, but also very cool and very interesting kind of setup. And I'm very excited to see where this goes. Love all the kind of craziness and action.
The Vampire Slayer #7 from Boom Studios, written by Sarah Galli, art by Claudia Balboni. In this comic, Buffy is not the Vampire Slayer. Willow is the Vampire Slayer. We don't know why. That's a big overarching mystery. And in this issue, we're definitely delving into how Buffy feels about it as we follow her being attacked by a spider demon type monster who hunts slayers. She keeps insisting she's not the Slayer. I know I've said this every issue. Man, I love this book, and I love it, I think, more every issue. This one, with this new rebooted continuity, I know they're almost definitely not going to kill Buffy, but it got me to a place where the end where I was like, oh, she's in serious trouble
she's
here.
Gonna die.
And I love that those stakes are high enough that we're actually worried about the person who is ostensibly the main character.
The only thing keeping her alive is the fact that she's not the Slayer. It feels like, in a good way. And I agree. I think this premise, I'm not a huge Buffy person, but this comic, of all the different Buffyverse stuff that's come out lately, I think is really popping because it feels like it's reinventing the characters in an interesting way that is causing me to lean in and want to hear more about the world. And you gotta love Buffy going to the fridge for some late night cheese.
Yeah, and that's not going to stop. You know what I mean? So I thought that this was a lot of fun. I also like the foreshadowing of having the two little spiders in the beginning panels, and then later the giant spider.
They say you swallow 2 spiders a night. Did you know that, Pete?
No, that's not it. The Snapple fact is actually that the average human in their sleep eats 8 spiders.
Every night?
Every night? That's a meal.
In their lifetime.
I usually have my 2 spiders before I go to bed. When do you guys have your 2 spiders?
Smart. But
I grill them. And let me ask you, Pete, you've took over from the Snapple lady how many years ago now? You're sort of dropping Snapple facts pretty aggressively, right?
All that aside, I think that the it was
Wait,
a little.
Was that what you were jotting down earlier for that other comic? Just a bunch of Snapple.
Oh, that was a Snapple fact. That's going to be hard to fit all of that on a cap, but I agree. Good writing. Some good writing.
I did felt a little insulted that they kept being like, I'm not a vampire slayer. I'm not a vampire slayer. I was like, I get it. I've been reading this comic. I know that you don't have to keep repeating it. I know you are Buffy the Vampire Slayer normally, but in this version you're not. So I just felt like they were kind of hammering that home a little bit, where I was just like, all right. But other than that, seeing her get dragged away there, I'm a little worried. So I can't wait to read the next issue and then hopefully be relieved of the stress.
Relieved of How many spiders are in your mouth right now?
Pete? Oh my God, so many! You're full of spiders.
I'm all spiders, bro.
Charlotte from Charlotte's Web has put a little phrase in the back.
Is that your pickup line in bars? You go into bars and you're like, baby, it's spiders all the way down.
No, it's like, hey, Snapple fact, I want to get with you.
Snapple fact, I want to get with you. Yeah, that's all I just...
He's got the cap.
Are you a Snapple lady? I'll be your Snapple man.
I'll be your
Beautiful.
Snapple fact.
Sins of the Black Flamingo. I'm sorry. Sins of the Black Flamingo,
Mouthful
number
of
5.
spiders.
From Image Comics, written by Andrew Wheeler, art by Travis Moore. This is the final issue of this book, which is taking our Florida-based hero who is trying to save an angel with the help of a golem and a couple of other people from an evil human who wants to possess the angel. I love this book. I've talked, just to repeat the stuff that I said before, but Travis Moore's art is like Greg Ladd, but powers used for good. Andrew Wheeler's writing is very cheeky and fun, but there's actual serious stakes here at the same time. This is a great introduction of a character, and I hope they do a sequel series.
I think they are, based on the back matter in this very comic.
Yeah. I just it was tough for me because the cookie tin that they use. I really wanted there to be those cookies in there because I love those old timey cookies that come in the tin. I love the action in this. Some cool story, some conclusion, which is nice. It's very well done.
Bloodshot Unleashed, #2 from Valiant, written by Dennis Camp, art by John Davis Hunt. In this issue, Bloodshot is going through a wild fight with a robot-y type guy. Justin, I know you love this one, so take it away.
Yeah, I think Dennis Camp is a writer that is really coming onto the scene right now. I talked about this in the live show, but the other series that he does currently, 20th Century Men, I think is so good. And this book as well, really injecting some interesting originality into Bloodshot, a character that in the past is like running in and shooting people and then getting shot and being fine. And in this, we get some nuance to it. The sort of nanite. There's a whole like other person who's a part of his superpowers, his power set. I just think this is really well done.
I love the action in this. The art's great. Creepy use of spoilers, cutting from the brain to the cherry pie. I could have gone without that image in my head, but also the kid was a little too clingy for my taste. But I felt like this was a cool story and well done.
It's in the nanites.
The real standout here for me was the art. I would say John Davis Hunt reminded me actually a little bit of Juan Jose Rip, who we talked about earlier in the stack, as well as Jeff Darrow, but with tighter panels throughout. This was
super tight bananas art. That's what you're saying.
Sure, super tight panels that I think were really well done, and I like the layouts throughout. This is a gorgeous book to look at. Last but not least, Creepshow #2 from Image Comics, written by David Lapham and Maria Lapham and Steve Fox, art by David Lapham and Erica Henderson. This is 2 spooky, terrifying stories in the mode of the first issue. I think we were pleasantly surprised, or terrified in Pete's case, by the first issue of this book, but what did we think of the second?
I thought I was pleasantly surprised by this. I thought it was
still pleasantly surprised.
Yeah,
I feel like the surprise is worn off though because of the first issue.
Well, it's one of those things where I cross my arms when it comes to horror. I don't like to be scared. But I liked the kind of the story behind it. I thought they were really, the stories were well done. The tree thing was a little too much for me, but I really liked the first story as well. I thought it was, I was impressed and not too scared where I hated it. I thought I was just the right amount of scared, just the right amount of story. So I was impressed.
Just a little tease. That's why I waited so long to tell you about the spider that's been crawling up your arm this whole time.
Get it off me!
I think this is one of my favorites of sort of all of the different anthology horror books that we've been reviewing this month. This one, I think the stories are really good and really different.
Better than like Silver Coin, bro? Come on.
No, I mean I love Silver Coin. I'm talking about the ones.
You really love Silver Coin.
Silver Coin's a cut above. The ones we've been reviewing that are like sort of a Crypt Keeper-led or Elvira-led collection of a bunch of different horror stories. And this one feels like there's not a ton of intrusion of the overarching premise. It really is just these stories, and they're fun and different and scary.
Yeah, I think in particular, you got Erica Henderson on a scary, horrifying story. That's a selling point for me right there. This is a great collection. And like we talked about with the first issue, it really perfectly channels the idea of Creepshow, both the movies and the show itself. So great job.
Great job, gang.
If you'd like to support our show, patreon.com/Comic Book Club. Also, we do a live show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. to Comcast and YouTube. Come hang out. We would love to chat with you about comic books, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, or the app of your choice. To subscribe, listen, and follow the show at Comic Book Live on Twitter, comicbookclublive.com for this podcast and many more. Until next time, we'll see you at the comic book shop.
I let my lap ham sit for so long it's covered in spiders.
Eat it.
I will. Gotta keep my stats up.